Hello, everybody. Today I am bringing you the Saints game here, but I do apologize for missing the last game with the Bears because I was kind of feeling sick and under the weather. But I am back now, and for the Saints, injuries. Coleman, the receiver, he's out with a neck. Taysom Hill, quarterback, he's like a third string. Issues have happened if he even enters the game, so I don't anticipate this being a real big deal. Michael Motti, illness, he's questionable. He used to be here, if we recall that. And then Teron Armstead, he's in. The rest of these players that I list are in. So Teron Armstead, he's dealing with a thigh. He's all dinged up. Trey Hendrickson, third down defensive end, dealing with an ankle. Michael Humananawanui. He used to play with the Patriots. I still cannot pronounce this man's name. He's a tight end dealing with a back injury. Cam Jordan, their all-pro defensive end, is dinged up with a knee. David Onyemata, defensive tackle, dealing with a thumb. Sheldon Rankins, he's dealing with an ankle. And PJ Williams, one of their corners, is also dealing with an ankle. Now, on their IR, there are two important guys I would like to point out, which is Kenny Vaccaro and Andres Pete, their guard slash left tackle. Well, or right tackle, need be. But they're both on IR, and that could cause some issues down the road. And I know everyone would just love to talk about the Saints offense constantly. You know, you got Kamara, you got Ingram, you got Michael Thomas, Josh Hill isn't a bad tight end, and when healthy, Kobe Fleener's there. You got Ted Ginn, you got Drew Brees, obviously. You got a pretty decent O-line, and that equates to the second total offense in the league at 391 yards a game. But I would like to talk about their defense here, because what they do is typically they get up, so they're not always being ran on, but they can be got in the run game. They are 27th in yards per carry allowed at 4.4 yards, 13th in rushing touchdowns allowed at 11. They are 21st in both 20-plus yard runs and 40-plus yard runs allowed. And for the 20-plus yard runs, they've allowed 12, and for 40, they've allowed 3. So I know some people might think, oh, only 3, but you said 21st. But the most that was given up by any team was 6, so they've allowed 3. So, and then if you go into Minnesota's injury report, you got Terrence Newman, the only one that's questionable, although we got other guys dinged up, but he's the only one that could possibly miss this game. But that would be a big loss for us, I think, because he's essentially our third corner. So Newman, with the questionable, he's dealing with a foot. Elfline's back. He's still dealing with that shoulder. Everson Griffin, foot injury. That's not good that he's on that list. C.J. Ham, the fullback, neck, but he's in. Anthony Harris, knee. In Rhodes, he's dealing with a foot, but he'll be fine. Kyle Rudolph, the ankle, it's appearing that this has gotten a lot better. And Shamar Stephen, another guy to add to the rotation if need be. Although I might just go Jaleel Johnson over Shamar Stephen in this case. And once again, like, you got to kind of highlight what this defense does. And they are the first-ranked total defense at 275.9 yards allowed a game. And going against the second total offense, it's kind of a nice little matchup storyline that I know the media is going to really grasp onto. But I'm still going to highlight the fact that we might be able to run the ball on them, because I just gave you the stats for them. We're 7th rushing offense in the league. We are averaging 122.3 yards a game. We have 15 rushing scores, which is good for tied on 7th in the league. And then we're 4th in 20-plus yard rushes this year at 15, but we're only 22nd in yards per carry at 3.9. So, and don't worry, I have some ideas here, I think, because I think I need to start with the line needs to go Reef, Burge, Elfline, Remmers at right guard, and Hill at right tackle. I feel that starting 5 is our best 5 right now. Elfline obviously being back helps a lot, because now we can put Berger out to guard. And if we kick out Searles and put Berger in, like, just kick out Searles entirely out of the lineup here, this brings back the screen game, especially getting Elfline back. And Remmers can really move. It's kind of underrated. So this brings back the screen game. This could be a real McKinnon deal. It gets some, and Keenum's really thrived off of these screen passes. So I feel like that's kind of a necessity. And so I think we might be able to run the ball on him because I gave you the numbers, obviously. Berger, Elflein, Remmers. You can argue those are our three best run blockers on the team. So right up the middle, perfect. As you have two defensive tackles that are kind of dinged up in there, so that'd be kind of nice. And I just feels like we'll be able to rattle off some of these runs. We'll be able to have long drives, keep Breeze off the field, which I feel like you need to do because Breeze will beat you with throws, but can't beat you with throws if he's not on the field and you're having time-consuming drives. So keep him off the field, rest our defense, and then sorry. But then we also need Keenum to play within himself. Like, we do not need heroic Case Keenum in this game. Like, those throws against Washington that he made a few weeks ago, like, I know that's going all the way back to, like, week 10, but you cannot have throws like that. Like, that one throw against Cincinnati that should have been picked off, we cannot have that. There are throws that should have been picked that were not picked that we cannot have from Case Keenum this game. We need him just to play within himself and to just be Case. Just be Case. Don't think too hard. Just be Case Keenum. And then, but I already highlighted Murray here. McKinnon's the explosive one, which is why I highlighted their 40-plus yard runs here. Their 20 and 40-plus yard runs. So McKinnon's our explosive guy. We might have kind of a little X factor in Jerick McKinnon right here because there's no reason as to why he can't rattle off a run or two. So just keep Murray busy. Keenum, be yourself. We should be able to protect a little bit. Cam Jordan's concerning, but outside of him, there's no one that scares me here. And I feel like with our best five, it would be nice. And I feel like Keenum might not have to be some hero just because Vaccaro is not on the field. Because if Vaccaro off the field, there's been some back-end issues communication-wise, pretty much leading to some more blown coverages that happened earlier in the year. But when you take the one real veteran out of there, because you got Marshawn Lattimore, he's a rookie. Ken Crawley, he's in his second year. Then you have Von Bell in his second year, and Marcus Williams is also a rookie. So you have some communication problems at the back end here. So Thielen and Diggs, you might get some of them open on these play action passes, especially if we can just keep pounding away with Latavius Murray. And going on to the defensive side, you obviously need to contain the edges and the screen game to Alvin Kamara. Because Kamara will beat you with those explosive plays out of there. You cannot miss him. He's a slippery little fella, and you have to get him to the ground. Otherwise, problems will kind of arrive. And then Barr and Kendricks, they're the guys that are very important with this. They're the two guys that are going to be tasked with, oh, hey, guess what? If there's a screen, you got to go blow it up because there's nothing there. Griffin and Hunter need to be very disciplined there, and I feel like we should be able to have it up the middle with Ingram just because Andres Pete is out, which I feel like is a bigger deal than some people are letting on. Because with a lot of people that would be generally a real issue if you're, especially against our line, because Tom Johnson is playing very well and I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for it, although I still think later on we have to get a guy in there that is more long-term as he's 33, but that's for a different time, and Linval Joseph. So with those two, I feel like that's a real mismatch right there because this could be a very big Tom Johnson game in terms of the pass rush because that's kind of his forte. So, and having a shorter quarterback like Drew Brees who needs to really maneuver around the pocket at times in order to get those throwing lanes, having a guy who can just push the pocket against a backup guard is really kind of a big deal here. So, and then you have guys like Griffin and Hunter one-on-one if Linval's out there, because if you don't double team Linval Joseph, you got issues. So, you typically just have to chip with a back there, usually on Griffin. So, Hunter, looking at Hunter against the rookie, Ryan Ramczyk. So, need to keep an eye on that little matchup because whoever wins that matchup could be a kind of a big factor in this game. So, And then I also love our corners and how they match up against this team because Xavier Rhodes, I feel like he's the big physical guy. You put him on Michael Thomas and you're probably good. I mean, he might get beat once or twice, but that's what happens with corners. Trey Waynes, I feel like Ted Ginn is almost like his dream matchup because you're talking about two guys who basically just run straight line down the field. And Trey Wayne's problem, he can't track the ball too well all the time. Well, you got a guy, you're covering a guy who doesn't always catch the ball all too well and doesn't usually adjust all too well. So just run down the field with him. You're both extremely fast. I'm assuming he can run stride for stride with Ted Ginn, as Ted Ginn's like on the older side now. I think he's in his low to mid 30s, like 32, 33. And Wayne's ran a 4.31, so this should be okay. And that's why I'm really thinking like we should be able to match up well. Just Newman being questionable with a foot, we'll probably see some more Mac Alexander, who isn't slower, and they like to move around Tommy Lee Lewis. So Tommy Lee Lewis is the one that might kind of be this little X Factor guy for them. A little under the radar, but yeah. And we really should be able to shut down the run game, especially with no Andres Pete. Shouldn't really be that much of an issue. Because last week, they only got 41 yards rushing total. So, and that was at home in New Orleans. Now you come up to Minnesota for what is a better run defense, not by much, but they're still better statistically, allowing only 83.6 yards a game. So I just don't see that happening. I feel like Kamara is the guy you really have to worry about because Ingram, more of an in between the tackles guy. So right there, with Andres Pete out, you don't have your starting left guard. Like if you have a weakness on your line against this defensive line, that's a very big problem for someone. So I feel like we should be able to shut this down okay. And we got to force Breeze to make great throws, which is both good and bad, I would say, because Breeze is one of the few quarterbacks where if you force him to make great throws, he'll just be like, I guess I'll just beat you with great throws then, and then he'll beat you with great throws. So that's just how he works. And it's going to be test-worthy towards Trey Waynes because I feel like he's not going to test Rhodes as much, but Trey, who is known for not tracking the ball well, if he's lined up on Michael Thomas at times, expect that and go right at 26. So even though he's played well, deservingly, he's gotten credit for it, and he's played well. But I feel like that's more against like these more average-ish quarterbacks where they look at that and he's running stride for stride, so he goes like, no, I don't think I'll throw that. But a guy like Breeze will be like, I can make that throw, and then he'll. So, yeah, and I think that could be also a real factor in this game. And I would like to know down in comments, do you think this is essentially the NFC Championship game with obviously a Wentzless Eagles team and Atlanta, who I assume no one trusts right now because of last year's Super Bowl? So is this considered almost like the NFC Championship game? Just whoever wins this game is most likely going to the Super Bowl. Just please leave comments down below, and I'd like to know your take on that. And to me, this game, though, it needs to look like what the Los Angeles Rams did when they came up to Minnesota, where we basically just pummeled them until we just said, you're going to have to play our brand of football, and then we're going to have to beat you that way. So kind of like level it field. Because I know the Saints love to be aggressive. That's their thing. Minnesota, they not really the most aggressive guys all the time. So we're more of that meat and potatoes. We're just going to grind it, play good defense, and then we're just going to beat you into submission. So, but if we can get them to play our brand of ball where it's like it just becomes field position game and it becomes low scoring, I think is where we really thrive. Whew. So, that being said, I really hope that this game gets in hand, well, hopefully by our guys, by the time that the game is nearing to an end, because I really, really do not want this to come down to a Kai Forbath field goal, because I am tired of being screwed over by these kickers in the playoffs. It's always something with the kickers. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think my prediction for this game. I almost signed off without that. I have Minnesota winning 20-17, which is kind of weird since I just said hopefully no four-bath field goal to win at the end. But I didn't say that was at the end. It could be an epic defensive stand. You don't know. But yeah, hopefully I do have us going on into the NFC Championship game, and I will be covering that game, hopefully. And so I guess after this game, I bid you adieu. Farewell.